Hello, everyone. Happy February. I am Yolanda of The Energetic Alchemist and host of Reiki Radio. And I am here with you to discuss the energy of February 2019. So, before we get into the energy of this month, one of the first things I want to point out is that we started off the year in the energy of Capricorn, which had us really focused on how we're showing up in our life, what we want to do with our life, just really having accountability and considering what it would take to get things done. Now, with that, there are so many energies and thoughts and emotions that can stir a lot of self-imposed pressures and even some opportunities for our lessons to come forward to help propel us forward. And we also had two eclipses last month, which supported us in becoming aware of what may have been hidden, whether it was information to help support us or emotions that may have been hindering us or had us stuck in any way, things that we needed to transform in order to move forward in our journey. So the end of last month, we had a full moon, which was a super moon. It was a blood moon. It was a lunar eclipse, and that one was quite powerful. But we also moved into the energy of Aquarius, which is different than Capricorn energy. So where we started off in Capricorn, which is more tradition and structure, it's like the father archetype of the zodiac. We move into Aquarius that says, let's get out of these structures and old traditions. Let's do things in an innovative way. Let's focus not just solely on who am I and how am I showing up, but how can I support the community? How can I focus on out there and how I am contributing to the collective? This may show up in terms of doing work for groups, activism, making changes in our own lives in radical ways. It could show up as wanting to feed the mind more. Aquarius is an air sign, and we love to learn. I am an Aquarius. So it's a very futuristic type of energy, very forward-thinking energy. And that's the energy that we're still in as we start out February. Now, one of the things I want you to know about this is while there may be a lot of ideas formulating and a lot of goals and intentions that we set at the start of the year, we're still also in this energy of winter where we are kind of wanting to hibernate in some ways. We may not necessarily be ready to take big and bold action, but we're in a space of creating. And a lot of this creativity may be more of an internalized process, setting the foundation, creating plans of how we're going to execute. But this energy, some of you may feel very inclined to take risks and do things differently than you've done in the past, or to start reaching out. But the point in it all is recognizing where you are now and knowing that where you are is just a part of the cycle. Like it's all this process of evolution and growth and forward movement. So whatever you have already started to do, whatever you're working on, whatever ideas you have percolating, know that it all takes time to mature and evolve and grow. So here in this Aquarius energy, you are encouraged to think outside of your old boxes. Think outside of your old limitations or restrictions, and even stepping out of the ideas of other people and really starting to tune into what makes you tick, what or how can you dance to the beat of your own drum, so to speak. What makes you unique? And how can you tune into that inner trust and knowing that there is beauty in your uniqueness and what you may want to do. So that's how we're starting out in February. One of the things about this month that came to mind is that February is the second month of the year. So I was thinking about the number 2 and thought of the tarot card, which is the High Priestess. This isn't the Rider-Waite deck, but it's another deck. And the High Priestess energy really brings us into that space of tuning into our own higher minds, accessing our own higher or inner wisdom, letting us know that we can tune into these other realms of consciousness that support us in so many ways. And often when we think of the intuitive mind, we think of predictive work, but actually our intuitive mind could be where we gain insights just as part of our healing, part of our deepening our understanding. It doesn't necessarily have to be anything that's predictive as much as it is a beautiful way of seeing from a higher point of view and allowing ourselves to access higher perspective. Now, this could be very useful when we are feeling stuck or, trying to tune into our own inner wisdom to propel us forward. But another thing about this energy that stood out to me is that towards the middle of this month, we move into the energy of Pisces. And Pisces energy is very intuitive. And so this is actually a beautiful time to pay attention to the intuitive mind. So much so, I am offering Intuitive Mastery, my online course, which has 12 modules that takes you through the process of learning how to connect with yourself, anchoring into you, and then going through this process of lifting up into the intuitive mind and learning how to translate and utilize your intuitive gifts in the highest and best ways. So there is a special for that now, which will end on February 15th. So if you want to start that course now, go to my website and you can sign up for the newsletter. There is a coupon code to give you the special deal. And again, that ends on February the 15th. Okay, so here we are in the second month, and we are in a 3 universal year, which is all about creativity. So this month, we're looking at the intuitive mind and how that can support us in whatever we are creating, our creative endeavors, our creative energy. And together, the 2 and the 3 equals 5, which is all about change. So a big theme for this month is also change. Intuition, creativity, change. Now, again, we're starting out in Aquarian energy, which is also very rebellious. Oftentimes we have to, rebel against old ways of being in order to allow ourselves to tap into new ways, new ideas, new thoughts, new possibility. And so we can start out this month really considering which changes will support us in wherever we are on our paths, whether it has to do with your self-healing, whether it has to do with a project, whether it has to do with your career, how you're showing up, on and on and on. Which changes will support you, and how can you use your intuitive mind to support you in making very clear decisions? Now, the Aquarius season is going to end February 17th, and that's when we move into that Pisces energy. And we actually will talk more about the Pisces energy next month. But one thing, again, I want to highlight this month is community and group work. So for a lot of people, I know that when we are on these paths of, spiritual exploration, self-healing, transformation, no matter what you study or practice, it could be Reiki, yoga, intuitive development, it could be tarot, whatever it is, it helps us to have community. It helps us to have people we can connect with to talk about our own process, what may be coming up for us, but also to hear the stories of people who are on similar journeys so that we know that we're not alone. It's very beneficial. So you are always invited to join us in the Seeker Circle, which is a free community on Facebook. And you can get more information about the Seeker Circle on my on my website as well. So, okay, now let's talk about the element in the mode of this energy that we're in. Aquarius is an air sign, which is directly related to thought. So you may find that you are pretty heady in the beginning of this month, having a lot of thoughts and ideas processing. And it's considered a fixed sign. That is the mode that it is. So it's like controlled or contained thought. Now, one thing you want to be mindful of in this is to get those thoughts out. That could be journaling. It could be connecting with groups and sharing your thoughts and ideas. It could be talking with a friend. It could be creating, but make sure you get the thoughts out so that you don't get stuck in that, what we call monkey mind. And then you can go into overwhelm because you're not directing the energy of those thoughts. Allow them to move through you by doing something like journaling or sharing and engaging with other people. Now, another thing about this energy that we can talk about this month is that energy of liberation. Like I said, Capricorn last month was much more structured and may even had some challenges of looking at our lessons and our personal challenges, things we're working through. Whereas this month, it's like liberating ourselves because Aquarius is ruled by the planet Uranus, which is very rebellious again. And it's about the energy of freedom, but also freedom of mind. So if you are feeling this stir, this urge, like something is changing in you, really tune into that. Don't ignore it. And when we are doing this work, a lot of times we are facilitating the changes that are happening. And we go through various cycles. Some are high, some feel low, whatever. It's all part of the process. So just acknowledge where you are and remember, no matter where you are in your path, it's all part of the process of liberating your true nature, your true self. That is what you're becoming more familiar with. Okay, let's see which events we have this month. The first event is on February 2nd. We have the Festival of Purification, which is called Imbolc. Now, Imbolc is celebrated in some cultures. A lot of people who have like pagan affiliation or ritual may also acknowledge this as well. But it is a celebration very connected to the Celtic goddess Bridget. And again, it is about purification, and it's really focusing on the return of light. Because remember, after the winter solstice, the days start getting longer. And so it's the promise of spring, and it's a Gaelic tradition, and it's celebrated on February 2nd. So if that sounds interesting to you, or you feel like that may be a good day for you to take time to meditate, connect with yourself, or do some type of ritual to really connect with that energy of like rebirth, reawakening even, or the light, coming back into the light, you can look up some information about that. And if you do practice, I would love to hear what you do. So you can do some rituals of cleansing, which is really big for this type of celebration. We can look at cleansing the body, which is symbolic also of earth, with salt, like a salt scrub, salt bath, soak in Epsom salt, things like that. We can also cleanse the mind symbolically with lighting incense and letting like the lower thought forms be cleared away. Some people like to use sage for that. Cleansing and purifying the emotion, we can connect with water, doing something very intentional, maybe even having a ritual like practice in your shower of having that intention of cleansing the body, being very mindful of your bathing. And then your will, cleansing and purifying our will. We can do that with the symbolism of fire by just like lighting a candle and meditating on that. And the energy of our spirit, of course, we can do that in a meditative way, having the intention of clearing and cleansing. A lot of people like to use crystals in this type of process. So there are so many things that you can do, but it's beautiful when we tune into our own intentionality of how we are managing our energy and managing our process throughout this entire journey of life. Okay, so we have the new moon. The new moon will be in Aquarius on February 4th. And as you all know, the new moon is a time where we are starting a new 28-day cycle. So it is symbolic of new beginnings. And it is a time that many people set new intentions, really focus on new beginnings, what they want to start, even sometimes make a modification to what already exists. And you can even have this moment or this day to connect with the energy of new ways of being, new practices, new dedication to yourself of, I'm going to dedicate myself to practicing Reiki every day or practicing my meditation every day. And speaking of the Reiki part, in the Seeker Circle last month, we did a practice of once a week focusing on the Reiki symbols and connecting to those energies. So there are lots of things that may come up in terms of what you want to focus new intention around during the new moon. And because it is in Aquarius, remember again that energy is very much connected to groups, community. It is very curious. So this may be a good time to find a mentor, take a new class, connect with new groups, maybe go on Meetup and see if there are any local communities that you want to be a part of or you want to exchange with. It could be a good time to consider new ways that you can support yourself again by moving beyond old limitations, old boundaries, and really allowing yourself to trust in your uniqueness, your way of being and doing things and expressing. So, it's a beautiful energy, and I may be a little biased about that, but I love this energy. And it's also a good time to consider like social gatherings. You may have new opportunities come up around this time. And also thinking about social justice. A lot of people, because Aquarius is the humanitarian, so you may feel inclined to support particular causes that are helping people in the community. Whatever you do, I would love to hear, and you can share with us on Facebook or even in the Creating with the Moon and Stars. There's a space where you can leave comments. Okay, another thing I want to point out for you in the month of February is Mercury enters Pisces on February 10th. Now, Mercury is the planet of communication. It's how we process thought, it's how we think, it's how we all communicate with each other. And on your own birth chart, your Mercury is in a particular sign, which will speak to your personal mode of communication and processing of thought. Well, on a collective level, when Mercury is in a particular sign, we may all feel the influence or impact of that particular communication specific to the sign that the planet is in. So it enters Pisces, and this is part of the reason I said that this is a good time to focus on your own intuitive mind, intuitive development, because Mercury in Pisces is kind of like, it reminds me of like dreamy thought or creative thought, artistic ways of thinking, feeling more than, just uh, feeling beyond words. Okay. Like in this energy, we may have a hard time articulating exactly how we feel. But if we allow ourselves to process in a more creative way, we can allow the energies of our own emotions, we can allow the energies of our own thoughts to move through us in very beautiful ways. And in this energy as well, you may find that you feel more connected to others. So pay attention to, your process of thought, or like the nature of your thoughts. Like, are you noticing that you are um, feeling more intuitively inclined around this time? What comes up to you, for you, in this particular energy? And again, I would love to hear your personal insights, but it's kind of like moving out of clear detail, like last month being in Capricorn energy, and moving more into bigger picture. So it's just new ways of seeing things when Mercury is in Pisces. And again, it may be very intuitive. So you may even notice that you are hyper aware of symbolism and like synchronicity and connecting dots. It should be an interesting time. After that, the sun will enter Pisces on February 18th. So, where we're starting out the beginning of the month in Aquarius, we're going to move full fledged into this Piscean energy. And with the sun also in Pisces, again, you may want to pay attention to, you know, not just the intuitive mind, but even your dreams. This may be a good time to start taking note of your dreams if you haven't already, because a lot of people receive messages in their dreams. And you may not know how to interpret them yet, but if you start journaling them as soon as you wake up, you may notice patterns in the messages, and that's a good way to also strengthen the intuitive mind by acknowledging your dreams and what comes through in that state of consciousness. Now, it is also a time for healing when we enter into Pisces. Pisces is a healer, and it's also an energy of making sure that we are not sacrificing ourselves to be of service. So, where the Aquarius energy may have you feeling drawn to being a humanitarian or being supportive of others in the collective, this energy is also reminding you to make sure you don't lose yourself in service, that you are still very grounded and connected into your own beingness, that you are still taking care of you while being of support to others. Um, you know, this energy also reminds me of poetry. It may be a good time to journal and allow your thoughts to come out in a poetic way, which also inspires that movement of your creative channels. And even if you think you aren't poetic and you don't think in this way, you can still challenge yourself to think like, okay, this is what's coming up for me, this is my day, but how can I write this or describe it in metaphor? Or how can I describe my feeling or what I'm experiencing differently in other more creative language? Again, when we are moving those creative energies, it will support you in allowing your creative channels to flow and move in other areas of your life. So you never know how this may actually support you. Then on, let's see, February 19th, we have the full supermoon in Virgo. Now, a supermoon is just when we are closer to the moon, and so it seems bigger than usual. Need water. It may seem bigger than usual. And when we have a full moon, the sun and the moon are in opposite signs. Sorry, I had to pause the recording so that I could cough. But now that that's out, the full moon is going to be in Virgo on February 19th. And when the moon is full, the sun is in the opposite sign. So since we will be in the energy of Pisces, this full moon will be in Virgo, which is the opposite of Pisces. Now, what is similar about these signs and what word really highlights again is service, because where Pisces may have a tendency to sacrifice the self in service, Virgo is more inclined to want to be of service, to be useful. Virgo wants to know how it can be purposeful, how it can be of help. So they are both very connected to service. But Virgo is also the energy connected with our health and our day-to-day. So in this full moon, I mean, the full moon illuminates something for us. And I usually tell people to consider what they are full of. So in this beautiful lunation, you may want to consider what you are currently full of, or what you are full of during this full moon. And again, how you can direct that energy to give birth to that energy, to allow it to support you in the highest and best way, but also considering how you are being of service to yourself, how you may be in service to others, and if you are allowing the universe to be of service to you. And with this, I also wrote down to think about, it's a good time to illuminate your dreams and create a plan. So illuminating your dreams, because the sun will be in Pisces, and then creating a plan because the moon is in Virgo. So this is a good time again to really tune into what your desires are, what you want to do, how you want to show up, be of service, how you want to create. And then what is a plan that you can create for yourself around this? It can also be a time where plans get confused, because even though Virgo is good at planning and helping us to get structured and organized, that Piscean energy can kind of confuse plans. So if that happens and things get thrown off track or you get derailed, don't stress too hard about it. Just remember that sometimes when we are at an impasse, it's an opportunity to modify. And Virgo energy is also good to help us to modify things, to give us an opportunity to make things better. So a kink in the plans isn't always necessarily something to be distraught about. It can be an opportunity to help us amplify whatever it was we were putting energy into to begin with. And in this energy as well, be mindful of your criticism. Virgo can be hypercritical, not just of others, but of the self. So pay attention around this time. What is coming up for you about your own criticism? Are you criticizing others? Are you criticizing yourself? And what can this energy teach you or show you or illuminate for you about the energies you hold, or perhaps some old wounding or old stories? And again, considering how you can work through that or transform those energies and give birth to a new way to help you on your path. Now, one last thing I wanted to share with you about February is that we also have Chinese New Year, which happens on February 5th, and this is the year of the pig, and the element is earth. Now, the pig is considered a fortunate year. It is the energy of goodwill, peace, and being social, which is interesting because that also kind of corresponds with this Aquarian energy this month, being social. And it really is about focusing on your investments and making money. In this energy, the year of the pig, there may be more focus on travel and generosity, but really focusing on finances and what you may be doing there. But on the lower side, it can make us more prone to laziness and even being naive about things. But if we know this up front, we can be mindful and aware of those potentials and navigate them with more clarity and awareness. So that is it that is all I wanted to share with you about February. Remember, the highlight of this month is change, intuition, change, and creative energy. Through whatever you're changing, through whatever transitions you're going through, how can your intuitive mind support you? And how does it all support what you are creating and pouring your energy into? And don't forget about those group connections and networking and maybe socializing. So again, if you want to learn more about your own intuitive mind and your intuitive development, go to my website and learn about intuitive mastery, or you can get the special where you get intuitive mastery and Reiki tools, both online courses, for a special, very low price until February 15th. And that will support you in navigating this beautiful intuitive energy. Another thing I did want to share with those of you who are Patreons, we are going through the first 5 modules of Intuitive Mastery on Patreon. So if you become a Reiki Radio Insider, we are going through that process over the next 5 weeks. And if you are part of the Alchemy Circle, you will have 2 opportunities to meet for group work around Intuitive Mastery. But again, it's just the first 5 modules out of 12. And for everyone in the Seeker Circle, we have a special guest. Her name is Hallie Bourne, and she will be joining us in the Seeker Circle on February 13th to guide us in a meditative journey, which will be amazing. So again, you can join us there if you haven't yet. And we have some new interviews coming up on Reiki Radio that I'm very excited to share with you. So thank you all for your continued support. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the reviews on iTunes. Thank you for showing up and being a part of this community. And I will see you all next month.